Welcome to the Marshall Pruett Podcast in our short form Catching Up With series. This episode we have our friend, good friend of the show, good friend of mine, Juan Pablo Montoya. I just smile when I think of him. He's such an insane SOB, and I say that with nothing but love and reverie. Been meaning to catch up with our boy, as AJ Foyt once dubbed him, Monterior, for a little while now. He and his teammate Dane Cameron at the Acura Team Penske IMSA DPI program reeled off 2 consecutive wins, head into this weekend's Salen's 6 Hours of the Glen IMSA round after about almost a month layoff, and we'll see if they can pull off number 3, but just wanting to catch up with our boy Mr. Monterior, see how life has been now that he has finally gotten a couple of wins in IMSA after transitioning to sports car racing full-time in 2018 with the captain. Speak a bit about gelling with his teammate Dane Cameron, who some of you may know. He worked for his uncle for a good while. I've known Dane since he was about 2 and pooping in his diapers. So really cool to see 2 really good folks getting some of the success that I knew that they would earn. Wander through a couple of different questions and did our best with the cellular telecommunications connection we had. Juan was driving around New York with his family, so anyways, we tried to do our best. Would say that all the IMSA talk, career talk, where you at, how long do you want to keep racing stuff, which I enjoyed, that's the meat of the conversation. The most fun part, I have to admit, a little bit out of left field in terms of not knowing what I was going to get, but it was thinking about the recent Formula One controversy in Canada over the call. Unfortunately, I think that might be what we refer to it for years to come, the call that ended up giving Lewis Hamilton the win and penalizing Sebastian Vettel. Then obviously we had another one last weekend with Daniel Ricciardo in France. And so just ask Juan, hey, you're kind of a Formula One driver emeritus now. Obviously, I mean, he was a monster in F1, but someone who's now in his 40s, no longer doing that full-time, obviously, in F1. Would you ever consider being, one of the guest stewards, like an Emanuele Pirro, Tom Christensen, you name it? And yeah, classic Juan. That was my favorite part of the conversation, which happened to come at the very end. So these aren't very long. I hope you enjoy it. Hope it's hard not to enjoy Monterior. So let's get going here with Catching Up with Juan Pablo Montoya, all brought to you by Cooper Tires and the Justice Brothers. So, brother, really happy to see where this new IMSA career of yours has been heading of late. You and the Dane Cameron experience and your Acura ARX-05 really seem like you are in a good place where we can expect you to win, be on podiums. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I think we've done a really good job. I mean, I think the results are overdue. I think last year we let a lot of laps and could never really complete the job, and it was really frustrating. So to actually, get it done and know that we can actually get it done and remember how we get it done, that is funny because it's no different than any other thing you do. I feel we're competitive, and I feel, we're in a good place. It's not easy where we stand, but I think it's exciting. I'm excited for the rest of the season. There's some good race trucks coming for us. You just need to make sure, we keep, the nose clean and we keep executing. And, I think we found a few things in the setup to benefit me personally, probably the most. And I think that made a big difference.
What is that thing, or what are those things that you've been looking for? And obviously we're not giving away any secrets, but, having watched you since your freaking Barber Saab days, you in a car, you could be on track in a white helmet with a bunch of other drivers with white helmets and nobody knowing who was in the cars, and your driving style stands out. But what is the thing that you have needed or been trying to work towards to get in the ARX-05 that you feel is kind of getting there?
The mid-corner front grip, to be honest. You could call my Achilles heel is the amount of understeer you get in the middle of the corner.
Because that's something where, you have always been a very front grip dependent driver, and that's not a negative at all. But you,
no, it's not. And Dane is the opposite.
Yeah,
I mean, not the opposite, but he's more comfortable with more understeer.
Yeah.
So we got to a point where he was getting more comfortable and finding more speed. And as he was finding more speed and more comfortable, I was starting to, my life was starting to get more miserable and more miserable.
So,
but everybody in the team, JD and all the guys have worked really hard, and I think we're in a really good place right now.
And that's an interesting thing too, because last year, if we're just looking at driver lineups, it seemed like Ricky and Elio, from a driving style standpoint, clicked. Wanted closer things, and were therefore, it seemed like, able to stand out a lot. This year, I'm not saying it's reversed. It just seems like there's kind of that parallel. You want that equal thing with both of the Team Penske Acuras. I love the fact, brother, that going into Watkins Glen here, you guys are in second place, you and Dane. Ricky and Elio are in third. The Action Express team with Durrani and Nasr, they're only 5 points up from you. It does seem like at the halfway point, there's a really good fight going on here for whatever the championship's going to end up being.
I think it's still early days. Right now we've got good momentum in our side. We've got good things going for us. There's never a given. You cannot assume everything is done and everything is golden and pretty and peach. But I think, we're in a good place. I think we're solid. We're strong. I think we both do a really good job. And, I think even from last year, I think we were so well balanced. I think our side with strategy and few things could never really get it executed. And this year, things seem to be clicking. So I think it's great.
Let's step away a little bit from the car and the championship and such. So you're now a year and a half into your IMSA career. I'm asking a dumb question because I know the answer, but you're accustomed to dumb questions from me. How much are you enjoying yourself? How much are you enjoying the culture? Showing up to races, seeing from fans. I mean, you, again, brother, from IndyCar to NASCAR to F1, you've been in a lot of paddocks. You've been to a lot of autograph sessions. What are you seeing and liking about this new culture for you in IMSA?
I think it's amazing. I love it. For me, the schedule is very good. It fits really well my needs at this point, where my kids, racing, and I've got a few people that I look after. But at the same time, I still want to drive the car. I still I want to kick somebody, everybody's ass when I'm in the car and be quicker than anybody. But when you can have both things, there's no wrong on it. You know what I mean?
Say, how about from a, I guess, I don't know if settling standpoint, but...
Oh, I love it. I really do love it. I think the cars, in my opinion, are probably the most fun cars I've driven since the Formula One car.
Wow.
From the, interaction between the driver, how the car handles, and the interaction between the driver and the team. Because you're not really, you're restricted, but you're not really, there's a lot of leeway in things that you can do, if you got good ideas. Like in IndyCar or NASCAR, you have a good idea, and it's just a good idea. Here you have a good idea, and it can get executed. And I think for me, that goes a long way.
Let's talk a little bit about some of your rivals, because I know that you have come to enjoy battling with some of the drivers and other teams that, again, for the most part, were somewhat, many of them, not all, but many of them were somewhat new to you when you started this in 2018 with Team Penske. But, I look at the Action Express folks. I look at the Wayne Taylor Racing guys. I look at the Mazdas and, look at a variety of other teams. There's some, not everyone here has raced in IndyCar or F1 that you're going up against, but I'm fairly confident you look at some of them and say, yeah, I got to go up against some badasses here.
Yeah, you always do. You know what I mean? It's always, and the guys that know the series understand what it takes. And I think that's the most important thing, when you're racing against people that really know what they're doing. And that makes anybody's life hard.
So let's talk a little bit about the future, Mr. Montoya. I mean, It's not as if
I don't know.
Well, it's not as if Roger's kicking you out of the car anytime soon. We don't want you to go away, but I mean, if you had the opportunity to stay here and do this 3, 4, 5 more years or whatever, is that something where you could?
I would love to.
Really?
That's my goal.
You want to be an old man driving sports cars. I like that.
Yeah.
I would have never predicted that, though.
Honestly, I want to remember the reason I always race is because I love racing. No bullshit, no politics, no, you know what I mean? For me, it's all about the pleasure of driving a car and going fast and trying to win races. That's all I really care about.
Let's close on a couple of things. So coming into this team, obviously you knew that crazy Brazilian, Castro Neves. Tell me a little bit about this somewhat quiet kid, Ricky Taylor, and also Dane Cameron. I mean, I'm convinced that if Roger said, hey, we're going to add a few more IndyCars to our program, these are 2 guys that could succeed pretty quickly, but curious what you see in them that you didn't know about when you got there.
I knew quite a bit about Ricky from the Taylor brothers on the team. And I remember I raced against them in the 24 hours before when I was with Ganassi, and they were never a big fan of me.
Like many of us who just, openly hate you. You're the worst person ever.
Exactly. Nothing you can do about it, and I'm okay with that. Probably the one that I knew the least was Dane. I mean, because Dane came, I think that, he's a little younger as well, but, I always followed too, so I knew who he was, but I was never knew him personally, and from day one, we had a good relationship, and, I consider him, honestly, a friend of mine today, and we're good friends. We have a good relationship, and I think we both care for each other and want to make sure the best for each other. So it's pretty cool, honestly. It is really, really cool, the type of relationship we have. And not only with Dane, but with Ricky and with Ellie as well. We're very competitive within the team to try to beat the other car, but at the same time we work together really well. And at the end of the day, it's making sure Acura and everybody HPD and Team Penske gets home and manage to celebrate wins and great results.
Let's extend the pool a little bit here. So obviously you're not going out to 3 drivers for each car this weekend at Watkins Glen, but you will have one more round where you do. Tell me about having Pagenaud in the team, and I guess even more having Rossi there. I mean, I don't know if you knew Rossi very well at all, kind of as he was coming into IndyCar.
I didn't know him well at all, and I think he's the different guy. He does a good job. He's fast in the car, and it's just different. He's been doing a really good job in the IndyCar. It's very methodical way of working, and very, he's very. He knows what he wants, and he's very quiet and determined. And Simon's good. I mean, Simon is it's funny because Simon is the guy that tells you, I'll do my things, but, I'll make sure, I'll bring the car, I'll go from point A, from A to B, and I'll give you the car at B, and that's your problem.
All right, let's close on something totally out of left field. If you ever dreamed in the future of being an FIA Formula One guest steward for an event, would I be safe in saying that after Canada and then again last weekend with Ricardo getting penalized, you're definitely not going to raise your hand for that job?
I wouldn't mind doing it, honestly. I'm surprised they never invited me to do it.
Really?
I am, honestly.
Well, the thing is, you are cold-blooded, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but, you're just black and white. It is what it is. So you might actually be the perfect steward, but I don't know if you'd like the heat coming from it if you made a call people didn't like, or if you care.
I really didn't care. At the end of the day, if you're a steward and you care what people think, you're in trouble. It's what it is, and I think you need to be, I think it would be cool, honestly. I think it would be something pretty interesting. Because I've been on the other side, and I've raced long enough to understand why they make the calls sometimes they make. It's kind of funny because you look at the new trucks with all the asphalt runoffs and everything, and they say it's a lot safer. but brings silly problems like this that people take advantage of it. Why wouldn't you?
How do you feel about the policing in terms of era, right? Because if we think about how things are today...
A lot of that happens, a lot of that actually comes from drivers' meetings, where the drivers want to, we need to police it better. We need to control the limits better. You know what I mean? So the stewards go and say what the drivers want, and then they get penalized, and they come out saying, probably the guys that bitched the most in the drivers' meeting is the guy that got penalized and came out and said that it was outrageous. That's kind of the way it works.
I just love the fact that Vettel, coming out of Canada, I think he was the people's champion. Everyone was very sympathetic towards him for a moment, and it feels like, I could be wrong, but it feels like, but then he just kept going and going and going, and almost, I think, maybe turned people against him in a matter of a week or two. Like, come on, dude. Now everything in the sport is wrong because of one corner at one race that didn't go the way you felt it should. I don't know, man. Well, I love the idea of Juan Montoya, Formula One race steward. That would be the most awesome thing in the world, because I know you would be making the calls that you felt were right and would not give the slightest of shits about it.
That's the way it needs to be, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know why they haven't asked. I don't know why folks haven't realized you might actually be the perfect guest steward.
Yeah, man, it's not about pleasing people. It's about getting the job done and whatever is right and whatever is wrong, Speaking
about what's right, we love you, my man, and I look forward to you guys seeing what you can do, going for 3 in a row this weekend. I don't know if you feel that's a possibility or if...
Yeah, I mean, it should be a strong race for us. Being a 6-hour race, anything can happen. And if you look at the forecast with rain, it's anybody's game. You know what I mean? If it's raining during the weekend, then it's a matter of surviving the day and, I'll damage limitation, and then you move on to the ones that you can actually win.
Remembering what your ARX-05 entry did in particular in the rain at Daytona, yeah, I bet you guys are praying for that right now. All right, brother. Well, I know you're trying to enjoy a little bit of downtime with the family there in New York, so thanks as always for calling in, my friend, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, talk to you soon.